approaching all the stakeholders involved to get you the truth and see whether at some point in time at all, Customs is likely to give this Audi Q7 back to Mr. and Mrs. Hammond. In the meantime, we're going to discuss national single window and how to facilitate trade in the port. Because somewhere around September 1st to be specific, Ghana Customs took over the job of classification, risk valuation and so on, as well as inspection in the port from the destination inspection companies, of course supported by their technical partner West Blue Consulting. Prior to that, there were a lot of talk about whether Customs at all was even ready and whether West Blue was the one going to do this particular business and all of that. So we sat down with the Chief Executive Officer of West Blue Consulting, Valentina Mintah, once again to find out about exactly what went on, what she made of, the talks around the time before the takeover. And since she took over, what has been her impressions about the entire exercise and where are we going?
In terms of our mandates with the government of Ghana, we have 3 mandates. The first was to support the activities of the GRA Customs Division and other stakeholders to successfully take over the functions of the destination inspection companies on the 1st of September, which we've successfully done. Our second mandate is to conduct a needs and gap analysis, a feasibility study of the Ghana National Single Window to derive the blueprint for implementation and the roadmap. And then our final mandate is to implement the signed off blueprint with the roadmap. So in terms of our work to date at the ports, we've been supporting Customs, who have the full control of the functions of classification, valuation and risk management. What we do is provide them with the tools, the technical tools, and the organizational support for them to conduct that particular function.
Okay, so beyond the technical support, what's the organizational support again? What does that entail?
So in terms of training on the IT systems, training on working together with WCO and other experts in the field, we have some consultants as well who have worked all over the world in areas such as this. So providing them the capacity to be able to do that, to use the tools adequately.
Since you took over, Customs took over from the DICs in September 1st, I'm sure that you might have had a lot of talks about, that particular transaction and that takeover. There were a lot of brouhaha prior to the takeover and all of that. First of all, how did you take that? And what your observation when you took over?
So we had a mandate to fulfill. There was a lot of noise, and there were 2 options. Either to lose focus and follow the noise, or to focus on the work, the task at hand, deliver what we had been mandated to do, and then deal with the issues that were emerging. But I think there was a lot of miscommunication in the beginning. There was a lot of misunderstanding.
In which area?
West Blue Consulting was being seen as a destination inspection company taking over from 5 destination inspection companies. That is absolutely factually incorrect. West Blue Consulting is an IT firm. We pride ourselves in building sustainable solutions for our clients. But what differentiates us from other IT providers is whereas we believe that IT is an enabler and not a driver of any optimization or reform program. So we work very, very closely with the users of the system as well as the beneficiaries of the system to design what is best to optimize that particular environment. So I think the main misinformation or miscommunication was the fact that we were a DIC company, and by saying we're a DIC company means that we conduct the function or we work on classification, valuation and risk management, which we don't.
Whereas so you're just supposed to provide
software,
technical support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you supported Customs to take over. Technically, you assisted them. One of the worries at the time was that, once the 5 DICs left, there was going to be a possibility of seeing something switched off, and there will be that difficulty on the part of Customs to be able to transact whatever they were supposed to transact electronically. Did you see any challenge as you took over? You supported Customs to take over technically?
Technically, well, I would say probably change management was a big issue, but we need to understand the history of this particular regime. So about 15 years ago, when the WCO came up with the rules for valuation and classification, some customs administrations, particularly in the emerging and developing economies, were seen not to have the right tools and the right expertise. Therefore, it was found necessary to engage third-party private sector operators to support and to provide the necessary tools and know-how to enable customs take full control of this function. So customs never stopped valuing or classifying or providing the risk management that was needed for the nation. They had to work with an advisory company. The fundamental difference was customs didn't have the IT tools and the software and other complementing services to do that in-house. So what we did was work with them over that transition period, make sure that the tool that was being introduced was fit for purpose, piloted, and also extended beyond the customs functions. Also to understand what was not working too well in the previous. So for example, if you have 5 entities managing the one nation's risk, you would have 5 disparate systems. Therefore, we had to make sure that whatever was being provided was one national system, and also to avoid the trader moving from site to site, we had to ensure that it was truly paperless. Now, since coming into force, there's been great collaboration between private sector and government, and that is working extremely well. So what you find is that time has drastically been reduced, whereas it used to take up to, in some cases, 2 weeks for a transaction to be issued or approved. With this new regime, customs is able to respond to applications or provide the CCVR within two days, 48 hours, which is the SLA that they have signed up to with the trading public. And in some compliant cases, it's actually issued within 2 hours. And this is without the trader having to go through traffic, without them having to queue up in halls and lobbies to get their permits
that's
application
amazing.
approved.
And I have been fortunate to hear from some of the users of this facility, and they keep talking about how successful it has been, how helpful it has also been for their work. But what really worked? So what wasn't working previously? What's working now?
What is working now is we've reduced the time and cost of doing business.
How do you do that?
Okay, so before we go into putting in an IT system or automating a system, we look at what processes are being administered. Then we look at where there are bottlenecks or where there are duplications. We then look at how the user works and how the operator works, and then put in the solution to do that. So now it's fully web-based. There are a lot of validation points and notification points in the system. So all the trader has to do, or the declarant has to do, is go online, pick up whichever commodity with their invoice and all other supporting documents, fill out the application form, attach the supporting documents, and send that through. Now, if there are any errors at the initial stage, there will be a validation check against, so for example, a bill of lading. If a bill of lading has previously been used in the system, it is recorded in the database. So if you try and put in a second transaction with the same bill of lading, it's going to reject it. So the system doesn't accept rubbish in, which could potentially delay applications for non-rubbish items. So that gatekeep, that check at the entry point is what is supporting. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done. And there are a number of duplication points which we're working to harmonize. And also what's being put in place is the notifications. So as soon as you put your application through, you get notified either by email or SMS that your application has been received. And as it goes through the process steps, you get notifications, or you can log into the system to see where in the process flow your application is at. That previously you would either have to go get on the phone to find out who is working on it, or travel all the way from your office to the processing company to find out the status. All those have been eliminated. Also, there's a lot of transparency in the system. You don't have to know who is working on your document.
So there is no face-to-face interaction here and there. Discretion.
Absolutely not.
What about discretion? In as much as they may not have access to whoever is working on their document, do people still have, the individuals or humans still have discretion to work on documents?
Okay, so these are things that we have to continuously keep looking at. Some of the controls that have been put in place is, for example, from the customs end, they cannot see which entity, who is the declarant. They can't see the name of the importer, they cannot see the declarant. They can just see the transaction. So that would reduce any temptations or any, that would reduce any human
temptation.
Absolutely, because you just see a transaction, you don't see who owns that particular transaction. Another feature which is in the system is the task manager. So the task manager randomly allocates tasks to officers who are on duty. So you cannot cherry pick by looking at what is outstanding and then picking out names. Yeah. This is automatically sent to the officers to work on. Also, there are a number of processing points. So you have a document verification officer who first verifies that the documents are up to date. It then moves over to a classification officer who ensures that the goods haven't been misclassified and that they are accurate. It then moves on to the valuation officer who ensures that that particular commodity code has been valued within the acceptable threshold. Following that, it goes over to the quality assurance department. They do the once-over check to ensure that everything is in line before pushing out the approved CCVR to the declarant. So as you can see, there's a lot of random points in there. So you cannot have the same group of people working on the same declarant's transactions day in, day out. So we put in those random filters to ensure that the human touch point which we had gotten accustomed to gets neutralized. Okay. No system is foolproof.
Of course.
We keep monitoring and working on it. And there's an audit check, there's an audit trail on the system so that at any point in time there's a timestamp of who worked on what document and what they did, so that if there is an incident or an issue, you can actually trace back and investigate.
Well, so West Blue believes that there is a bright light at the end of the tunnel as far as doing business in the ports of Ghana is concerned. They believe that at the end of this national single window exercise, doing business in Ghana is going to be as smooth as you have ever imagined. Iron Port returns after the break.
I've got no need to worry. I've got no room for doubt. No matter what's coming at me, you'll always be the beautiful I sing about. There ain't no limitations to your amazing grace. Your amazing grace. And there's something about the way your love shines on my face. Oh no, I can never get enough of you.
Star Assurance, creating smiles since 1985. Let go. Let's celebrate 30 years of solid partnership. Star Assurance, your solid partner.
I'll take care of you. I gotta slow down.
Every time you think of importing goods into Ghana, know that there is a competent team of world-class personnel to cater to your trade needs. Know that there is a help desk you can call with your queries. Know that you can speed up the process of clearing your goods with customs long before they arrive in Ghana. Remember that CCVR, which used to take several days, now only takes 48 hours through the new Customs Pre-Arrival Assessment Reporting System known as PARS. Remember that our staff all over the nation is waiting to serve you. Remember that PARS makes imports into Ghana faster, simpler, safer and easier. Ghana Revenue Authority, committed to serving you better.
Ghana's ground. Your own ground. Our own ground.